Hello everyone and welcome back to the Justice for Aaron Brady campaign. We are going to continue to scrutinise the podcast created by Nicola Tallant and Niall Donald, the podcast entitled Crime World, and it was looking at Aaron's case and the investigation into the modern robbery at Lordship Credit Union. Now we have already unfortunately had to make 10 or 11 videos in respect of this podcast, and we highlighted the inaccuracies, the total false information, the stupidity or the callous use of lies by these two people. And we have had a short break of just over a week from our previous video because we were somewhat aware that either the Sunday World or one or other of these two journalists were going to contact us in respect of this podcast, Crime World. That hasn't happened, obviously. So we've created the 10 or 11 videos and showing clearly that these two people either don't know what they're talking about or are simply just spouting a narrative handed to them by the DPP's office or both DPP's office and An Garda Síochána. And it's very, very, very evident now in this video, this little clip we're going to show you now, which where Tallant and Donald sort of reach into the American aspect of Aaron's case, where they speak about Daniel Cahill and Molly Staunton. But it's very prevalent, and unfortunately I've had to listen to this bullshit over and over numerous times to put it together for our videos. But you can hear very clearly where we're told in this little clip, I think on two occasions, that not to get into it specifically. So they're not going to give any specific details, which we look at after the video, obviously, and not to go into the ins and outs of it. So Donald has actually been primed by Tallant to tell the Irish public, we're not going to give you any of the very relevant information. We're going to give you a curated and a narrated version of actually what happened during the course of Aaron Brady's trial. So I think the best thing to do is let's have a little listen to this clip, and we'll discuss what these two people have attempted to do immediately after. So here's the clip.
Reading of Irish law.
And part of the case against Aaron Brady was that he went to the States and boasted about what he'd done, that he went on nights out, and that he often spoke about the fact that he had killed a guard, and that he kind of made admissions while...
Yeah, I mean, there was witnesses produced in court, two witnesses, one of them a Dublin guy called Daniel Cahill, and a girl also called Molly Staunton. So both of those spoke, rather than go into the very ins and outs of it, but they both spoke about Aaron Brady speaking about it. It was described by the prosecution as wearing the murder of Garda Adrian Donoghue as a badge of honour over in the US, because shortly after the real investigation began, of course, Aaron Brady left the country. Mm-hmm. He first went to Boston and then ultimately ended up in the Bronx. And while he was in the Bronx, he was living in a place called Woodlawn, where there was a lot of Irish immigrants. And he was spending a lot of time drinking in a local bar there. And this is where the evidence came out of two people who knew him from the bar. They spoke about various incidents, not to get into it in specifically, occasions where he had one occasion where it was described he'd broken down and admitted it, other occasions where he sort of bragged about it and maybe had been in a fight and sort of described this as something to threaten the person who he'd been fighting with. Those people were ultimately those witnesses were ultimately presented to the court through the US law officials. So they kind of took the witness statements initially with the assistance of the Gardaí. Now, of course, the Aaron Brady campaign, has said deals were done for these, but those people stood up in court and gave evidence.
So there we have Tallant and Donald's take on the American aspect of Aaron's case to a degree. And again, it's very important to highlight here again, Donald has been prompted by Talent to tell you, the Irish public, we're not going to tell you everything here, we're only going to tell you a curated and a narrative that was handed to us by the DPP's office or in Garda Síochána's press office, or indeed both, or a combination of both. When he tells us not going to get into the ins and outs of it, he tells us very clearly, and that not going to get into it specifically. And we're going to have a look at what he's not going to get into. And either these two people are completely stupid and are complete idiots, or they are perpetuating a tissue of lies. Because again, Talent throws it out there to Donald. He takes the bait and he tells us that witnesses were produced in court. One was Daniel Cahill, one was a girl, Molly Staunton. And he says very clearly at the end of that little video clip of the both of them that these two people stood up in court. Nothing could be further from the truth. Daniel Cahill and Molly Staunton gave their evidence from 5,000 miles away via video link. And that was because of COVID. And Judge Michael White denied Aaron Brady his human right of facing his accuser. And the COVID-19 pandemic was used as a battering ram to get these two people to get their coached, I say without fear of contradiction, their coached evidence from New York, from behind the video camera. So I think the first one we're going to look at, we'll look at Molly Staunton, and we'll have a look at the ins and outs. It's like some of these things that Donald will be talking about during the course of a very broad-ranging word to cover a lot of things that he doesn't want to highlight to you, the Irish public. So the first thing is, obviously, Molly Staunton gave her evidence from her kitchen in her apartment in New York. Now, very simply, during the course of her evidence, she was assaulted by an unknown male, and he said to her, this was heard in the court, tell them what you're fucking supposed to tell them, no more testimony. And Molly Staunton was attacked during the course of her evidence. Molly Staunton spoke with Judge Michael White, and Judge Michael White allowed this. Molly Staunton told Judge Michael White that there was no one in the room with her. That was one of the conditions of the illegal testimony anyway. She should have had to sit in the stand in Courtroom in Dublin. But one of the conditions was that she was to be on her own. And obviously she wasn't. That man actually slammed down her laptop. From behind, he slammed the laptop down. And Judge Michael White allowed her testimony to continue. Now, there were serious protestations from Aaron's counsel for the defence, Fiona Murphy. Indeed, Fiona Murphy, I would say, was almost in tears, begging Judge Michael White not to allow this to continue. But senior counsel Brendan Grehan forced Judge White, or worked with Judge White, to allow testimony to continue after the girl had been attacked in her own kitchen while giving testimony. So if we can imagine for 1 second, someone's given evidence during the course of a court, someone approaches the witness box and shouts at them, what would happen? There would be pandemonium. People would jump all over the attacker or the aggressor moving towards the person giving their testimony. So that's one of the ins and outs of it that Donald and Talent forgot about, and they didn't want to go into anything specifically. So then we have to look at a situation as, was this investigated, or was there nobody there with Molly Staunton on behalf of the authorities in America? Because after all, the girl is given testimony in a capital murder trial, albeit she's in America and the trial is in Dublin. And Molly Staunton, as did Daniel Cahill on a number of occasions, mentioned this man here, Matt Katsky. And you can see him here as a Homeland Security officer that went around offering inducements to people to give testimony against Aaron Brady. And that was, again, this man here, Judge Michael White, refused to allow that in as evidence during the course of Aaron's trial, that this man here, Matt Katsky, was offering inducements to people to tell lies against Aaron. So we have a situation where we have to believe that there was no NYPD or Homeland Security presence in and around or near Molly Staunton's home or apartment. And then on the following morning, these two men here collaborated to tell the court that there would be no investigation. Brendan Grehan stood up in court the following morning after Molly Staunton's complete fiasco of testimony. And I think I'll mention once again, I have mentioned before, she was actually turned into a hostile witness. She refused to say that Aaron Brady actually said the words, "I shot the cop." She said he was upset and that he did say that the cops in Ireland had destroyed his life, and he was upset about that because at that time An Garda Síochána had gone to Aaron's girlfriend's family here in Ireland, told them a tissue of lies about us, the Brady family, and obviously had caused ripples of discontent between Aaron and his girlfriend. And that's what Aaron was ranting about. But Molly Staunton did say that Aaron Brady did not say, "I shot the cop." And she was turned into a hostile witness. So getting back to what actually happened as she was giving her testimony, a man shouts at her, "Tell them what you're fucking supposed to tell them. No more testimony." Slams the laptop down. Brendan Grehan gets up the next morning in the court and tells Judge Michael White that he had spoken to Inspector Mark Phillips and that there would be no further investigations. And Judge Michael White accepted that. I am sure Judge White could have ordered or very strongly requested that the details of the man who attacked Molly Staunton be given to the court, if for no other reason other for the benefit of the defence counsel. But again, Judge Michael White, Senior Counsel for Prosecution Brendan Grehan, and Inspector Mark Phillips completely shut the whole thing down and told the court very simply it was a male friend, a male acquaintance of Molly Staunton that was in the room. And we have to believe that there was no NYPD or Homeland Security present with Molly Staunton. And again, Molly Staunton's testimony was due to be given a very heavy health warning, shall we say, by this man again, Judge Michael White. And we say quite clearly that what Judge Michael White said to the jury fell very short of what actually happened, of what Judge Michael White actually did say when discharging the jury. Molly Staunton's evidence should not have been entertained, not a word of it. And we've always said there are other family matters and health matters in respect to this young lady that we don't want to go into in public. But as progression goes in the trial and further in the case, that may become obviously more apparent. So here we have Talent and Donald again. Can they explain, while given a podcast on the trial of Aaron Brady, did not say people were allowed to give their testimony via video link from 5,000 miles away, in Molly Staunton in particular, in her own kitchen. She was assaulted by an unknown male in her own kitchen while giving testimony. She was told, "Tell them what you're fucking supposed to tell them." And Donald and Talent forget all these little bits and pieces that we say are not just little bits and pieces. So if we take on board the previous 11 videos of how bad and how pathetic these two fucking people are, and now we show you quite clearly what they are attempting to do here. Now we can go into the details about what these people said, and indeed, like I think this said that both witnesses heard Aaron Brady speaking in a local pub. Again, totally wrong. Molly Staunton was never in a pub with Aaron Brady. She had a relationship with a friend of Aaron's, a friend Aaron was sharing an apartment with. Nothing more than that. Aaron Brady never had any social interaction with this young girl. So they have that wrong as well. Like, it's only little bits of detail and it's fact. And these two idiots have it wrong. And if they had any sort of professional gumption or any sort of moral standing with them at all, they would look at what they've produced, look at what we are seeing, and we say once again, if they have any worries or concerns about our critique of their work, please let us know. So that's the Molly Staunton part of what they've said in that 2-minute clip. We'll be looking at this clip again, and we'll get into a little bit more detail in respect of the other witness who gave testimony against Aaron, Mr. Daniel Cahill. We'll look at that in the next video clip, in the next video we are going to create. And obviously there's a lot more information in that video. So just going to finish off, there's loads of little bits of information that I can pick out, obviously, that may be only subliminal for those, the public watching. And I'm going to finish this evening with just a minute, I think just over a minute, from Nicola Talent, who is presenting some propaganda, I can only assume, for Detective Inspector Mark Phillips, who was finished as the lead detective in Aaron's case. And we can see her being apologetic for what we can only assume is Inspector Mark Phillips here. So we'll see you again in the next video. Please continue to like, comment and share. We do need you to help us with that. If you hit the subscribe button, share and like, it does help our algorithms. We are being seriously attacked on all social media platforms in respect of Aaron's campaign. So we do need your help with that. And we're just going to leave you with this little clip here. It's a little bit of propaganda being put forward by Nicola Talent in, shall we say, in respect of a senior investigating officer, Mr. Mark Phillips. So thank you once again, and we'll see you in the next video. Thank you.
Gone across the border. There were suspicions about who they were, but it was a case that was a slow build. And the National Bureau of Criminal Investigation were involved from early on. And I think a member of that, the Bureau, was put full-time on it, almost kind of like on a solo towards the end. Because what happened was there had been a series of these creeper burglaries